It started with laughter echoing off the marble floors of the terminal. I could smell cinnamon rolls, cheap perfume, and someone's open travel shampoo. My hands were still sticky from the orange juice I'd spilled in the car, my heart hammering for a reason I couldn't name. Dad's face glistened with sweat. My sister Rachel was already glued to her phone, giggling as she texted her boyfriend Travis. Before we begin, drop a comment and tell us where are you from and from which city you're watching our videos. And after watching the whole video, don't forget to tell us what would you do in this situation? Be honest. Tell me in the comments below. We read every comment. Let's begin. We were supposed to be heading for the gate, one big family vacation. For once, I'd actually believed I belonged. Dad had insisted, "This year, Jade, you come too." Mom even said she'd miss her book club just to see me enjoy myself for a change. Yeah, right. But just as the announcement for boarding rang out, Dad turned to me. "Give me your ticket, Jade." My breath caught. What? Why? He didn't even look at me. Rachel's boyfriend got waitlisted. He can't fly standby. He's family, Jade. Don't be selfish. Rachel didn't say a word, didn't meet my eyes. She took my boarding pass from Dad's outstretched hand and pressed it into Travis's palm. Not a hint of apology. Travis grinned, stuffing it in his pocket, barely hiding his relief. "Sorry, Jade. You'll catch the next flight, right?" I stood there frozen, the overhead lights flickering like faulty hopes. My suitcase felt heavier than ever. Dad wrapped an arm around Mom, pulling her close as they hustled Rachel and Travis toward the gate. "You understand, right, honey?" he called over his shoulder. "Family helps family." The final call for boarding echoed. I stood there with my mouth open, surrounded by 1,000 strangers and my own humiliation. Rachel blew me a kiss. Travis didn't look back. I could feel every eye in the terminal shift away. Embarrassed for me, but nobody said a word. Minutes later, the group chat pinged. "Rachel, can you believe Jade just let me take her spot? What a saint." "Dad, she always was the understanding one." I didn't cry. I didn't run. I just clenched my jaw and watched as my family disappeared down the jetway, all smiles like I'd never existed. I could almost hear their laughter fade, replaced by the buzz of a cleaning cart and a toddler's wail. That was the moment something snapped inside me. I walked out of the terminal, dragging my suitcase through slush and exhaust fumes. My phone vibrated again. A new message from Dad. "Get home safe. Maybe next year." I didn't go home. I didn't even look back. I booked a ride, heart pounding with anger and something sharp that felt like freedom. This wasn't over, not even close. The week crawled by. My family sent group photos, Rachel and Travis on the beach, Dad holding a fruity drink, Mom sunburned but smiling. No mention of me, except when Rachel tagged me in a post. "Missing you, sis." Just to rub it in, they had no idea what I was planning. Because if they wanted to act like I was invisible, then they'd better learn what it felt like to be powerless. So, while they boarded their connecting flight, I made my own call. The kind of call that changes everything, especially for people who think you're too soft to ever fight back. All I needed was one tiny detail Dad had forgotten. Whose name was really on the credit card that paid for this trip, and who had just come into a quiet inheritance, no thanks to them. I booked a ticket, first class, and then I booked something even bigger. By the time my family touched down in Miami, the real show was just getting started. Miami's humidity hit them like a slap. Rachel's hair frizzed instantly, Travis fumbled with his sunglasses, and Dad muttered something about the car rental line being third world slow. Mom was already scanning for a bellhop, her lips pursed tight. Their flight had landed an hour late. Typical. Rachel was live streaming their arrival for her followers, twirling in her neon dress, aiming for that vacation glow. Travis grinned behind her, a tourist in cargo shorts, clutching the rental keys like a golden ticket. Dad barked at the shuttle driver, then gathered the family, waving his phone like a baton. "We'll head straight to the Grand Floridian," he announced. "Rachel, grab your mother's bag." Rachel rolled her eyes, dumped her own purse on Travis, and dragged Mom's oversized floral suitcase over the curb. No one mentioned me. They'd spent the whole flight posting about family time, painting a picture for the world, but the empty space at Dad's side wasn't even noticed. The drive to the hotel was a blur of palm trees and neon signs. Inside the van, Mom retouched her lipstick, Rachel scrolled TikTok, and Dad pontificated about how a little authority got you the best rooms in any hotel. Travis just nodded, eager to please. They pulled up to the Grand Viridian, five-star, oceanfront, towering over the sand like a palace. A row of gleaming SUVs lined the entrance, bellhops in pressed uniforms hustling luggage through gold-framed doors. Dad strode in, chest puffed out, the rest trailing behind. He relished moments like this. Being the provider, Rachel filmed the chandeliers. Travis whistled. Mom slipped into her practiced smile. Dad cut through the crowd and slapped his palm on the counter. Reservation for the Miller family. 5 rooms. Ocean view. The clerk, sharp suit, name tag reading Diego, flashed a tight smile. Of course, Mr. Miller. Could I see your identification? Dad slid his license across, already peering over Diego's shoulder at the wall of room keys. Should be under Miller. All inclusive. Booked last month. Diego clicked, away at his computer. He paused, frowned, and typed again. Dad huffed. Is there a problem? A pause. Diego looked up. I'm sorry, sir. There is a reservation here, but the booking is under a different name. Rachel rolled her eyes. It's Miller. Double check. Diego nodded, unruffled. Yes, Miss Miller. The rooms were reserved by a Ms. Jade Miller. A silent beat. Dad laughed, loud, forced. That's my daughter. She's not coming. Had to back out last minute. Diego smiled politely, but it didn't reach his eyes. I understand. But per our records, Ms. Jade Miller not only reserved the rooms, but also paid for exclusive use of the penthouse floor. In addition, she instructed us to ensure that only guests on her list are given room keys. The air in the lobby shifted. Rachel stopped filming. Travis let out a low whistle. Glancing at Dad, Mom's smile faltered. Wait, what? She didn't tell us that. There must be a mistake. Diego kept his eyes on Dad. Would you like me to call Miss Miller to verify, or shall I fetch the manager? Dad's face reddened. Number, just give us our keys. She's our daughter. She'll understand. Diego shook his head. I'm truly sorry, sir. But unless Miss Miller authorizes your check-in, I cannot release the keys. Rachel's voice was barely a whisper now. She's here? In Miami? The elevator chimed across the lobby. The family turned, expecting to see a stranger step out. Instead, I emerged, hair still wine-tousled, suitcase rolling behind me, wearing the confidence I'd always pretended to have. My heart thundered, but I forced myself to hold Dad's gaze. Dad's jaw tightened. Rachel's face went pale. Mom looked like she'd swallowed a stone. Travis, for once, seemed lost for words. I stopped at the desk, nodding to Diego. Everything ready? He smiled, relief flashing in his eyes. Yes, Miss Miller. Your suite is prepared, and the other penthouse rooms await your guests. I handed over a list. None of my family's names on it. Only those on this list. No exceptions. Dad sputtered. You can't be serious, Jade. I met his eyes. Steady, calm, cold. Family helps family, right, Dad? You made your choice at the gate. I'm making mine now. The line behind us had gone silent, travelers craning to catch every word. Rachel's phone hung limply from her fingers, forgotten. Mom stepped forward, her voice trembling. Jade, honey, let's not make a scene. I shook my head, lips barely quivering. No scene, Mom. I just learned something this week about power and respect. You traded my place for convenience. Now you can see how it feels to be left behind. Diego slid a heavy, gold-embossed key card into my palm. You're sweet, Ms. Miller. I thanked him, then turned to face my family. Enjoy the lobby. It's got a beautiful view. If you can stand watching other people come and go. Rachel opened her mouth, but no. Words came. Dad's fists clenched at his sides. Travis shuffled, already stepping away from the conflict. I strode past them, each step lighter than the last, refusing to look back. For once, the one left behind wasn't me. The lobby felt colder after I left. Rachel stared at the marble floor, blinking fast. Dad muttered something sharp under his breath, and Mom started arguing with the desk clerk, her voice climbing. But Diego just kept repeating the rules, polite but unmovable. Travis, do something, Rachel hissed, grabbing his arm. But Travis just shrugged. I mean, maybe we should call Jade. She's the only one who can get us in. Dad's face was red, his jaw tight. He pulled out his phone and dialed my number, pacing in front of the windows as if he owned the place. The call rang and rang. I watched from my suite's balcony above, phone on silent, eyes burning with a mix of anger and satisfaction. I poured myself a glass of water, hands still shaking. This was supposed to feel like victory, but instead I felt raw, almost hollow. Was this what power tasted like? Or just a kind of emptiness? A knock at my door snapped me out of it. It was Diego, smiling more warmly now. "Ms. Miller, just checking that everything's to your liking?" I nodded. "It's perfect. Thank you." He paused, lowering his voice. "Your family? They're still downstairs. The father is asking if you'd reconsider." I thought about it. For years, I'd been the one left out, the one asked to sacrifice, the one told to understand. I owed them nothing. I shook my head. "They'll figure something out." Back in the lobby, Dad's frustration finally spilled over. "She's bluffing. She wouldn't just lock us out." He tried calling again, straight to voicemail. Rachel slumped onto a velvet chair, furious. "This is humiliating. All these people are staring." Mom's composure cracked. She turned on Dad. "You said Jade would understand. Now what?" Dad glared at the elevator, teeth clenched. "She'll come around. She's always been too soft." But this time, I wasn't. Hours passed. The sun set over Miami, painting the sky in colors they could only see from the hotel parking lot. They sat, watched, and waited. No suite, no ocean view, just the hard edge of being left out. I stood at the window, watching the city lights flicker on, feeling something change inside me. The story wasn't over. In fact, the real confrontation hadn't even started. Tomorrow, the entire hotel would know exactly why the Miller family had no place to stay, and why I'd finally stopped forgiving. The next morning, news of the family drama in the lobby had spread. Hotel staff whispered. Guests stared when they passed Rachel and Mom, who'd spent the night on a worn-out lobby couch. Dad barely slept, pacing until sunrise, scowling at every manager who walked by. Meanwhile, I took breakfast on the balcony, sunlight streaming in. For once, I let myself enjoy it. I could see Dad below, gesturing wildly at his phone, no doubt ranting about ungrateful children. Rachel sobbed quietly, shielding her face from her followers on Instagram Live. She didn't want anyone to see her like this. By noon, Travis was fed up. "I'm getting a room at another hotel," he snapped, shouldering his bag and leaving without a backward glance. Rachel's outrage was volcanic. She tried to chase after him, but Mom grabbed her wrist, hissing, "Not now. We need to fix this first." I finally decided to answer my phone. Dad's number flashed. I let it ring, then picked up. "Jade." His voice was hard, desperate. "Enough. You made your point. Come down here." I leaned against the railing. "My point or yours?" "Dad, you took my place and handed it away like I was nothing. You made it clear where I stand." His voice rose. "I'm your father. Family comes first." I almost laughed. "Family? When it suits you." A pause. For once, Dad was speechless. Mom took the phone. Her voice trembled. "Jade, please, you're hurting us. Just let us in." I closed my eyes, letting the ache hit for just a second. "You never saw me until you needed something." Rachel's voice, small and shaky, came next. "Jade, I'm sorry. I didn't think he'd actually go through with it." Silence. I took a breath. "I'm not shutting you out forever, but you're going to understand what it feels like to be left out. Maybe next time, you'll remember who you walked over." I hung up. Downstairs, Dad exploded, throwing his phone on the marble floor. Rachel started to cry, for real. Mom sat back, wiped her eyes, and stared at the ceiling, as if trying to disappear. I turned away from the window, heart pounding but lighter. For the first time, I felt like I'd taken control of my story. The staff knocked, asking if I wanted the spa reserved. I smiled and said yes. For the Millers, the vacation had just begun, but not the way they planned. The day crawled by for the Millers. Dad grew quieter, the fight draining out of him. Mom tried everything, pleading with staff, calling hotel management, even trying to bribe Diego at the desk. But the answer stayed the same. Ms. Miller's instructions are clear. By evening, Rachel was red-eyed, hugging her knees on the lobby couch. She kept scrolling through old family pictures, her finger trembling. Mom finally snapped, "This is your fault, Greg. If you hadn't—" She stopped, defeated, her voice cracking in front of strangers. Dad finally stood up and stared at the glass doors leading out to the beach. He seemed smaller somehow, the old arrogance replaced by something hollow. He reached into his pocket, pulled out his phone again, and this time, instead of anger, his voice was low. "Jade, if you want us to leave, We'll go. I just want you to know, I'm sorry. I never thought about how it felt. I really am sorry. He hung up, not waiting for an answer. It was the first real apology I'd ever heard from him. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything in my head. The airport, the lobby, every time I'd been pushed aside for the good of the family. I realized power wasn't just locking them out, it was making them see me, finally, as someone with a voice. I called Diego, let them have rooms, one each, nothing fancy, but put my name on the door. The Millers were led upstairs, silent, each opening their door to see my name in gold script on the keycards. For the first time, the rooms were a gift, not a right. The next morning, Rachel knocked at my suite. She didn't say anything at first, just threw her arms around me and sobbed. I'm sorry, Jade. I didn't mean for any of this. We sat together for a long time. No speeches, just the quiet of people who understood too late. Dad never said much, but I saw him looking at me differently, like he was really seeing me for the first time. Mom made breakfast plans and for once, actually waited for my answer. Our family would never be perfect, but they'd never forget what it meant to be on the outside looking in. When the vacation ended, I checked out first, handing my key to Diego with a smile. Thanks for treating me like I mattered. He nodded, handing me a note, handwritten by Dad. Thank you for reminding me what family is supposed to mean. I left Miami lighter, with a new sense of myself. I wasn't the family doormat anymore. I was Jade Miller. And finally, I was home, wherever I chose to be.